take whatever beauty you can find.
Welcome to Take Whatever Beauty You Can Find, the podcast from Art Hub Siouxland. I'm Brendan Tote, and I'm here to talk about Siouxland art with today's guest, Pat Toben.
And that's one thing that's so strong about our community here in Sioux City. It is so vibrant in the arts.
Pat works for Sioux City Community Schools to improve experiences for students and teachers alike.
What can we do better for kids?
Right. I met with Pat on a snowy, slushy day in January. We talked about some programs she's working on for the schools and her own personal history and engagement with the arts. I'm here with Pat Toben. Hello, Pat.
Hi, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's Monday. It's snowy. It's in January, and we got the kids to school okay, so that's a good start to the week.
It is a great start.
Yeah. Well, I know you from, I've got it here because it's kind of a long title. You run the Facebook page Arts and Community Engagement for Sioux City Community School District. Is that right?
I do. I am the program coordinator for art, music, PE, and health, and engaging our community. So I help work with our teachers. We coach for best practice, and then working on engaging our community through the arts and physical education as well.
Okay. So I didn't realize it was as much physical education too, because I see a lot of stuff on the arts. That's kind of what I'm paying the most attention to on the Facebook feed. What are some of the things you got going on right now?
Right. So our elementary students right now are preparing for Link Up with the Sioux City Symphony. And that is a partnership actually with Carnegie Hall in New York City.
Cool. Have you been to Carnegie Hall before?
I have been to Carnegie Hall. 4 years ago, the Symphony approached us as a district. We had been taking our fourth graders and our sixth graders to the Symphony, one grade level in the fall and one in the spring, along with our outlying communities. And we had started discussions about what does this look like? What does the orchestra performance look like for students moving forward? Is it interactive? Is it sit and get? What is it? And so the Symphony approached me and said, hey, Pat, there's this program coming out through Carnegie Hall in New York City that we could partner with. Do you think the district would be interested? They even grant educators to go out for free to go through the training and to see what it's all about and see if it's a fit. So 4 years ago in the spring, in May, I was able to take a trip to New York City.
That's pretty cool.
It was incredible. Not only was it my first time in the city, but it was my first time at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
And so they had an evening where we got to meet and greet educators and liaisons from symphonies from across the U.S. that had already partnered with this program. So any questions that we had, we could begin asking them. The following morning, we went in for 3 hours of training. And then the most exciting, hair-raising, goosebump experience of my life was seeing kids from New York City come in with their classroom teachers, their music educators, sitting in Carnegie Hall, watching this performance. Not only were they watching, but they were interacting. They had their recorders with them, they had their books with them, and it was just an incredible experience that I knew we couldn't pass up here in Sioux City.
Link Up is not just like a one-time thing, so it's a program that goes on a little bit. It sounds like it's starting up now. Is that about right?
It is a program that goes on, and actually through Sioux City Community Schools, we adopted new music curriculum 2 years ago. Our Board of Education adopted it aligned to our state standards, and through that, we found a very natural fit with the Link Up materials as well. So our kids have been working on this material since the beginning of the year. We have all of our third graders in the district, all of our fourth graders in the district, and all of our fifth graders in the district. Then our bus to the Orpheum in March for this performance.
Okay. Wow, I didn't realize they started at third grade.
Yes.
So third graders with recorders must be a lot of fun.
It is incredible. And the great thing about it is, we're always talking about differentiation in education, and the materials that we get from Carnegie Hall are differentiated. So there are 3 or 4 different recorder parts. So our third graders can be working on one part, our fourth graders can be working on another, fifth graders can be working on another, and then intertwined in with that are vocal parts. So if the kids feel comfortable playing their recorder, they're able to do that. If they'd rather sing, they can do that. There's just so many options for them.
Oh, that's fantastic. So are they starting to learn music at that point, or is it just kind of like a manual physical memory kind of thing that they're doing on the recorder, or how's that work?
No, that's a great question. So through our curriculum work, our students are hearing a lot of patterns now rather
Sure.
than, when we grew up, it was, this is a quarter note, this is the note A, this is
Yep.
the fingering for A, this is the way it is. And now we're really starting to teach in patterns. So we've got a pattern, a rhythmic pattern or a melodic pattern. And what we've done is we've worked to embed those patterns into the work that we're doing with the symphony as well. So it's really a natural transfer for our kids instead of this is our curriculum, this is the curriculum of Link Up. We've really worked to meld that together. So it's a natural learning experience for our kids. It's very authentic.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm 35 now. Last year I started taking piano lessons with my neighbor. And when I get stuck, which is very often, she's like, okay, stop, turn your left hand off and just think about the pattern in the right hand. And so that becomes a lot easier than recalling the notes or reading the music sometimes, because you realize you got the pattern and then maybe the pattern just moves up an octave or a couple of notes. So it totally makes sense that you would be teaching that to the kids, because then they kind of get that into their brain.
Right. And if we think about it, it's much like reading.
Yeah.
We don't open a book in front of a baby. We might. We do. We open that book, but we don't expect them to read it right away. They're seeing the pictures, they're hearing our voice.
Yeah.
And it's the same way we've taken that into music now. So in our kindergarten and first grade, they're really hearing it and experiencing it. And then in second grade, we're really starting with those patterns. So by third grade, it's such an authentic experience to be able to get them to the symphony and to be able to play along with the musicians at the symphony.
Okay. What grade do students start taking up instruments then?
Great question. So in fourth grade, our students can begin orchestra.
Okay.
And in fifth grade, our students begin band. So we have orchestra program in our district from 4th through 12th grade. And we have multiple entry points, meaning if you are not able to start in 4th grade, but you'd like to start in 5th grade, we allow that opportunity. We have many students coming and going within our district. And we also allow, if they come in as a 7th grader, they're more than welcome to start. Same thing with band, 5th through 12th grade.
Cool. What would the difference, I'm just getting into the nuances of music. Could you explain to me the difference between the orchestra program and the band program?
Absolutely. Really, the difference comes in the instrument that you hold.
Okay.
The music part of it, the building the individual as a person, humanity, right? Arts have been with us throughout time. I can't find a culture that doesn't experience the arts. So really, the differences, it's the size of the instrument, the type of the instrument, whether you're blowing air through it, whether you're bowing, whether you're, but when we come back through it, it's creating music and having that human experience.
Okay. So what is Link Up like at the end of the program whenever they get to the Orpheum, right?
Yes.
So what's that experience like for them?
So that experience, if you've ever seen it, some people get so upset because roads are closed off downtown Sioux City, and they're wondering what is going on.
I have run into that part of town at that time, but now that I've learned a little bit, we have some neighbors who are around that age, and so they've kind of told us about the program, and it's like, oh, it's easy to let that stress go. So yeah.
Right. So if you've ever seen it, there's like streets blocked off, bus beyond bus beyond bus. I mean, we have students coming from Alta Aurelia into Nebraska. So it's a great experience for our kids of Sioux City Community Schools to also see that music is beyond the four walls of their classroom, beyond the four walls of their building, but then that they can come and make music with Nebraskans, Iowans, students from how many different schools. I believe last year there were 37 schools involved.
Okay.
And this year we're looking at over 50 schools
Holy
involved.
cow.
So we have 12 of those schools. And then our kids get to interact. So what does that experience look like? They get on the bus at their building. They've got their recorders with them. They've got their books with them. They get down. They get off the bus. They come into the Orpheum. For many of them, it's their first time ever. And before we had 4th grade and 6th grade coming down, and it was just enough span where they didn't quite remember what was there, where now it's so fun seeing them coming in that second and that third year. There's still that wonder and amazement of the Orpheum, and what a beautiful sight for our city.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been in places in Chicago or other places, and the Orpheum, just the way they've restored that, it's fantastic.
It is absolutely incredible. So they come in then, and they sit by grade level. They've got assigned sections within, and Maestro Haskins starts off and welcomes everybody. His energy is just so inspiring. He welcomes them all, gets them all excited. There's a great PowerPoint that comes from Carnegie Hall that
Okay.
asks a bunch of trivia questions so the kids are engaged before the orchestra gets started. The orchestra comes on stage, they start warming up. Maestro Haskins welcomes them, just gets them really fired up about the experience, and then there's a big countdown.
Oh, okay.
And orchestra starts usually with national anthem. The kids are up, they're singing, and from there it just takes away. There might be movement, there might be a listening part where they're just listening to the orchestra play. It might be that they're playing along. One of the big thematic pieces that goes through all of the link up programs is a song called Come to Play.
Okay.
And it just really gets them going. They can sing that one, they can play their recorder. We've had the experience of the first one that we did was the orchestra sings, and so there was a lot of singing with that, but there was also recorder playing.
Sure.
And then so they go through that program, and at the end, there's kind of that final culminating piece, which you would think would be kind of we're just kind of going to let them go and let them sizzle out. No, that last piece is just gangbusters so that they're excited about it again the following year. And last year we did the Orchestra Rocks, and this year the Orchestra Moves, and the comments that are coming back from our kids, just an incredible experience.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 4 and a 5-year-old, and for them to see that music doesn't just come from your phone or through the van or, something, or maybe a YouTube video, but to go and see it is just, it's amazing. And I would take them to some talks at Minerva's, and they thought that was the symphony because,
Sure.
Maestro Ryan Haskins is there, he's talking. And so we go to Minerva's and they say, that's the symphony. Well, actually, no, that's not the symphony. So a couple of years ago, we took them to the Christmas program. And like you said, when they get into the Orpheum, it's like, whoa. And that was their first big auditorium they'd been in. And it's a really cool experience. And to be able to see that on the faces of a bunch of kids must be very satisfying.
Absolutely. And then we had the opportunity a year ago, we had a district-wide concert. So all of our 4th through 12th graders had the opportunity that are involved in music to be able to perform in the Orpheum.
Oh, wow.
So the students that had gone there and sat in the seats to perform then had the opportunity to actually see the green rooms downstairs because that's where they
cool.
were hanging out. And then to actually be able to perform on the stage was just a great experience for them.
Yeah, I went through. I've only really been in the lobby and the auditorium. I went through the haunted Orpheum once, and that's kind of when you see the bowels of the building, and that was pretty cool. So it's cool that the kids get to see that.
Right. Yes, it's absolutely incredible. So not only do we have the Link Up experience going on, but we also signed a partnership with the New York Metropolitan Opera last spring. And so we're in the process of working through what does that look like for our district. They perform several operas throughout the year in New York City, but they also have an HD Live program. And so we're working with some local cinemas here to see if they will take on
Really?
so that we can, yes, it's so
great.
exciting. So then we can learn through, we've got humanities classes in our high schools. We've got some play production classes. And so through that then, the kids can work on stage design and just learning what it takes for costume design, and we can embed some of that into their learning. And then they provide us over 200 free tickets for our students to go see that HD Live performance.
That's awesome. And man, props to you because I've been down to went down to Lincoln and saw one of the National Theatre Live broadcasts, which is out of England, but I know they also do Met stuff. So if we could get somewhere local that's doing something like that, because I know the National Theatre Live broadcast that I saw was amazing. These are really high quality sets and costumes and actors and actresses and singers. So
yeah, I mean, nothing like the top and the best of the best, right? So through that program, I was able to go back to New York City this fall. They provided my flight, hotel, everything for training for that as well.
Okay.
And the great part about this is, you always wonder that, what's next? What's next? Well, this was the what's next because all of our second graders in the spring in April get to see Opera Iowa through the Des Moines Opera Company. And so we bring them here to do a production for all of our second graders. So then you're like, oh, what's next? Because that's a part of our culture and our community as well. So how do we get to that next step? Because they always want to do an evening performance for us. I'm like, well, I don't know for sure if our community is built up and ready for that.
Right.
We've got some, but I want to make sure that you've got a great audience for your production as well. And so that was just kind of that next step of how do we build education along the way, and that kind of create that demand and excitement for wanting to be at that evening show. What better than the New York Met?
Yeah. So can I ask a question? Because when I came in, I saw the magic flute sitting on your desk. Is that a part of what you're working on?
That is.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. So we've been working on trying to get the partnership with the local cinema. And as we work through that process, one of the productions that they've done is what you saw, the magic flute.
Awesome.
And so we'll begin working with our students on that. It could be Hunt A+ Elementary. It could be however that lesson is going to naturally embed in. And then we've got the DVD right now to show them, but eventually it will be that HD live in the theater.
That's great. Because that's, I think, something that down in Lincoln they were showing was the magic flute. In this area, you have to either go to Omaha or Lincoln or
Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bunch in Sioux Falls, but maybe I haven't looked hard enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are real. I would, just anybody who's listening, if you National Theater Live, which is more dramatic theater, and then the Met. What's the program called?
New York Met. It's HD Live.
Oh, HD Live. Yeah. So I haven't seen any, but I can't wait to see one. And that's where they show these performances. They're staged theatrical performances that are recorded. Is that right?
They're actually in production of it, so it's a performance that's going on at the Met. So they have an audience there while they're doing the HD Live.
Yeah, fantastic. So remind me, what's your proper title again?
It is Arts and Community Engagement Program Coordinator. And 7 years ago in the spring, the state of Iowa came out with a teacher leadership compensation package, meaning they wanted more teachers in leadership roles. And so through that, our district wrote a proposal, and we were one of the first districts in the state of Iowa actually to get that. In the past, we had 12 department heads, so there was a department head for art, for music, for PE, for many of the different subject areas. And so this role more is less of that management, but more of the coaching and bringing opportunities and working for opportunities with kids. So my background, this is my 27th year in education. With that, I have taught, I'm certified K-12 music, and actually just finished my administrative license last spring through the University of Iowa. So went through 2 years of grad work while in this position as well. So my background really is music, and I have taught elementary music, middle school and high school band, along with vocal, 6/12 vocal, and then some strings orchestra as well. So really kind of been into the K-12 music scene, and the last 6 years fulfilled this role in working with our art, PE, and health educators as well as our music educators.
Cool. Sounds like you're pretty busy here, and if you're going back to school or just wrap that up, you're probably very busy. Are there things in the community that you like to take in yourself or participate in?
Absolutely. The arts are really kind of what ground me. That's what I found is it's not only is it my passion, but it's when I feel like I'm not quite centered. It's the arts that bring me back in. It's the, oh my gosh, I haven't been to a concert for a while, or I haven't been to the art center for a while, or I haven't been up to USD to the art gallery, or to Morningside to the art gallery, or I haven't been to a concert here or there. And it's the play production too. It's that, along with, in a position like this, it's so great to see district wide that scope of what's going on in all of our buildings. But there's also just that little tinge of, man, I wish I had my kids again,
right.
And not my kids, but our kids. And what does that look like? And it's ironically, every time I kind of have that little, I need, a teacher will call and say, hey, Pat, can you come out and help with, I'd really like you to work side by side with me with, and boom, there's that kid fix.
Nice. So you're coaching then in class. Is that you're getting in there hands-on with the teachers, or is this more of like workshop and things?
Absolutely. It's really a combination of both. Through this position, I've done a lot of curriculum work because art, music, health, and PE, K-12 have been coming through the curriculum cycle. So there's a lot of work days working teams through that and what's best practice for our kids. And then it's out in the field, out in the classrooms with the educators during their planning time, trying to figure out, how are we going to have kids meet this standard? What is that going to look like? What is the teaching and learning part of it? What does it look like for the kids? What does it look like for you as the educator?
Cool. Was there a moment in your life when you realized, one, that you wanted to stick with music, and two, that you wanted to be a music educator?
That's a really funny question. And I say it's funny because it's really not funny.
Those make the best and funniest stories, right?
Right? I can tell you that I did not start band in fifth grade.
Okay.
Fifth grade was the starting time. My dad was a packing plant worker at the time. My mom worked for the post office. And they grew up in families where they got back to the farm and did farm work. And so being involved in anything other than the academics during the day was really kind of a stretch. While my mom took accordion lessons and piano lessons, my dad really did not have any arts per se.
Yeah.
So I did start piano lessons at a young age. I think I was in second grade, but fifth grade came along and man, I wanted to be in band so bad. And mom and dad were, nope, we just can't do it. Dad's working split shifts, he's working days and nights, and it's just not going to work for our family. So I get over to the middle school, grew up in a small town, graduated class of 29.
Yep.
Really
I'm from
small.
a town population 900, so yep.
325, 3 communities together for the school system. Get over to the middle school, and it is 7th grade. And I hear over the speaker, if you'd like to play the bass drum, please see the music teacher as soon as possible.
Just like on a whim, they're like, oh shoot, we don't have a bass.
Right, so all of a sudden we don't have enough percussionists to fill out the band. So if you'd like to play the bass drum, please. So I go home and I'm just pumped. Hey, Mom, I can play bass drum. What can I do? Okay, so Mom and Dad finally give in. They're like, yep, you've wanted this. You've stuck with piano. I think we'll be good. So I got into that 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm looking at our band director. Seriously, bass drum? Can I start snare? Can I start some mallets? Can I start timpani? And it just kind of went through there. And the funny or not funny part of the story, through 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, 6 years, I had 7 different band directors. And that was really what can we do better for kids?
Right.
It really some unfortunate scenarios. People moved on.
Because
mid-year.
It's not just for the effective instruction, it's a relationship, really. I mean, that's been my experience of whether it's English or whatever, My kids take piano lessons and they love their teacher who's our neighbor, and if it was just someone they didn't know or someone who didn't have that rapport, it wouldn't be as effective. So it'd be really tough cycling through, you said 7?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And there was a time frame my sophomore year, January, February time frame where we didn't have a director. So guess who got to sub? Guess who got to lead the band? And it happened to be, we had great basketball teams. So they were coming through districts, and the school had to have a pep band at districts. So here I was, Worthington High School at districts, directing our pep band.
You were?
I was. So there was a sub in the room, but I was the one that was, leading our group.
Well, because they're probably going over the loudspeaker, we need a band director. Like not for all the students to hear, but
right. So I guess it was probably at that point that I kind of had that tinge of, yeah, this is really what I want to do.
Well, that's nice about the link up then, is that you can bring the smaller communities who maybe don't have the resources to attract or keep people long term, but then they can still see some of the magical stuff that they might not get to experience kind of in the outlying communities.
Right. Yeah. It's just, all around there are so many benefits.
Do you play piano anymore?
I do.
Yeah?
In fact, we have 2 children who are both very strong musicians. And along the way, of course, as they play their string instruments, one's a violinist and the other is a cellist. One was a percussionist and one is a tubist as well. So, they've got some solo work that they're doing along the way. And guess what I get to do as a mom that plays piano? I've been able to accompany them until they get into the really, really difficult condensed scores.
Are they pursuing music now?
Great question. Our daughter actually is out on the East Coast in her second year of college, and she really enjoyed the music scene, was really involved, was part of All-State in Iowa, and really kind of wasn't sure if she wanted to go for music, didn't think she wanted to, got through her first semester at college, and then decided, she came home Christmas last year for her holiday break, And she said, I'm bringing home my violin. We need to go up to Minneapolis again. I want to upgrade because I found joy in it.
Oh, cool.
I finally found the joy. Mom and Dad, what you've always been talking about is that, if you practice enough or if you're involved in enough, you're going to find that joy in it. And it was so exciting because when she got home, she's like, I've really found that joy. I'm not just practicing for a lesson, or I'm not just practicing for that next performance, but through my study time and through the stress of studying, I've found that I can get my violin out and just start playing. And through that, then I've started improving. And I've really found the joy in it versus the I have to do it.
Sure. I think people let go of the focus on music because they think, well, I'm never going to be a professional musician. Or maybe I'm not going to teach music or something, but there's still a way you can keep that in your life. And it's just like, you're not going to be a professional football player, but you could still watch the NFL on Sundays. There's nothing that says you can't do that just because you didn't make it in the pros. And I think we tend to let music and some of the art stuff go because we think we have to be professionals for it to, quote, pay off,
Yeah, and that's one thing that's so strong about our community here in Sioux City. It is so vibrant in the arts. We've lived here now for 9 years, and I'm still coming across groups that I had no idea even existed. And I mean, thanks to you and starting this Arts Hub Siouxland, you put some stuff through there that I'm like, really? That's a group? I had no idea. This is cool. I need to look into this, which has really kind of started a conversation over the last 3 to 4 years, different stakeholders and different arts groups within the community. We've really started the discussion of what would an arts council look like, because our community is so vibrant in the arts.
Oh, yeah.
Just incredibly vibrant. And as a community member, how aware are you of that?
I was a transplant and didn't know anything, but I think it'd probably be very easy to grow up here and also not know about it because you're just used to walking by certain buildings, or you're just used to, that's part of the landscape and you don't really realize what's going on. So it's really impressed me, like the quality of, our symphony is awesome. And then even if you go into, I love getting up to Vermilion or Orange City. I haven't been down like in Wayne very much for anything, but there's lots of stuff in some of the smaller communities around that's just really great.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's just incredibly vibrant through the arts. Unfortunately, I don't think our community knows how vibrant we are through the arts. So, we're kind of looking at what could that arts council look like? What, not only could it be a hub for artists to, and when I say artists, I mean theater, drama, art, music, we're covering the whole bit there, dance, just a community where everybody has that kind of common ground. And, the arts also help spark community value and bring industry into town. And I really wonder if the knowledge of the arts in our city could be that spark for future growth. Yeah,
I think there's plenty here. It just kind of needs to be out in the open. What was your art education like when you were growing up? It's not like an academic thing. I grew up thinking it was, but it's really a real life thing.
Really, the arts are part of the heart. It's the arts surround us wherever you go. You look in my office right now and I have nothing for artwork up on the walls. It's still sitting against the wall until I get that up. And, that's one thing that I miss when I walk in here. That artwork isn't up. My life experience growing up, grew up in a small community, took piano lessons. We had elementary music. Through there, came through high school, like I said, started band. We didn't have a strings program, but I was also involved in show choir and choir. Through middle school and high school, was involved in jazz band. And then we also had plays, we didn't have big full-blown musicals, but we did have plays that we worked through. And, you bring that up. I also took art. Art's tough for me. But I think, when you look at that and the question that you posed, is it really that it's tough, or is it that I just haven't sat down and really found the joy in it, as I was speaking of earlier? So ironically, I've really kind of set some time aside this year. 2-3 times a week is really my goal. If I get 5 or 6 or all 7, I've got a journal sitting down next to the chair. I usually take some time every night to sit in the chair with the family. And, while the TV's on, for some reason, I just don't consume a lot of TV. So to be there with the family, I've got that journal sitting there, and I've really started taking some time to doodle a little bit and kind of start drawing a little bit. I love working with clay. that's kind of tough to have in your own home.
Yeah.
I guess, the Art Center has several classes. Maybe I just need to sign up for one of those.
I was just looking at, they have like date night classes I was looking at the other day. So, yeah.
So, the arts can be as involved as you want or as uninvolved, if you want to say. And when I say uninvolved, you can be that passive person in an audience consuming. You can be, Morningside has an evening band on Wednesday nights, All-American Band.
Oh, really?
If you want to be a part of and play. In fact, this year,
so they just
I'm
practice
playing.
on Wednesdays
Yeah,
then?
they practice on
Okay.
Wednesday nights and then have concerts. And so I'm playing in band again.
Hey, what are you playing?
I'm a percussionist as well.
Okay, cool. So I had heard of All-American Band, but I didn't know what it was. So it's cool to know it's a community thing, not a specifically Morningside thing.
Mike Hogan, a name from the past, was a great icon, had a music store here in town, passed away. Oh my goodness, I'm going to date myself here. I would say 8 to 10 years ago, but it's probably been 13 to 15 years ago. Just a great guy, great musician, had a wealth of knowledge of music and, really ran a great business. And then part of that also, he had the All-American Band. And within the last couple years, Morningside has taken that under their wings.
That's cool. I'll have to go. And when are the concerts usually?
We just had one in December, and I believe the next one is in March.
So what kind of things are you playing?
So for the next concert, it's got a childhood theme.
Okay.
So different things revolving around childhood.
Cool. Well, I know you're very busy. Before I let you go, any parting words you want to give us?
The parting words are really this. As I said earlier, the art is in your heart. You've got it. Everybody has a part of the arts. We don't have a culture where the arts are not. So if you think you're a great artist or musician or dancer or, love getting on the stage, find an opportunity within our community because it doesn't matter your age. There are opportunities throughout our community for that. And then if you don't think that it's really part of you, dig a little deeper because it really is.
That was Pat Toben. I'm going to have to read her title again from her business card because there's no way I can remember it off the top of my head. She is the Arts and Community Engagement Program Coordinator for Sioux City Community Schools. I'd like to thank her again for agreeing to have a conversation with me, but I also want to thank her for what she's doing in the schools. The Link Up and the MedHD Live programs sound like great experiences for our local students. Although I spent a lot of my time paying attention to the arts these days, that wasn't always the case. I saw a few plays growing up, but I didn't see my first live orchestra until I was 28, right here in Sioux City. It's exciting to think about all the young kids who are going to see their first live orchestra at such a young age, and what an impressive orchestra we have here in Sioux City to share. So when Link Up Day comes in March and you're trying to navigate downtown near the Orpheum and you run into a couple dozen buses and a few closed roads, go ahead and swear, but just do it in your head to yourself. Those kids and those buses are there for a good reason. You might end up a few minutes late to your destination, but some kid inside might be jumpstarting his or her passion for the arts. If you enjoyed my conversation with Pat, you can find other conversations with other Siouxland artists by searching for Take Whatever Beauty You Can Find in Apple Podcasts or by going to arthubsiouxland.com/podcast. You can follow Art Hub Siouxland on Facebook or our webpage to stay up to date with local art events and event reviews and to find out when the next podcast episode will drop. For Take Whatever Beauty You Can Find, I'm Brendan Tote.
Take whatever beauty you can find.